The speaker is purely for your entertainment, information, and hopefully enjoyment. So today we have for you David Smith, Managing Director of BioTech company Focus Safety. He'll be talking to us on how biotechnology has developed a non-toxic alternative to the use of toxic chemicals. Since 2000, David was General Manager for the Environmental Department of a mid-sized international company, PMCI Corporation, that was then based in Jontier. He is now currently an owner and managing partner and director of the BioTech company Focus Safety, which is the master franchisor and technology provider for biopools, the swimming pool services, in and around Pattaya, Jontier and Bangalore. So please give David a warm hand, and we'll get him up here to tell us all about his company.
That's right. Jockey size. Yeah, that sounded like a mouthful, didn't it? And as you might have guessed, I'm an Australian, so we always say good day. And thank you for the video, especially to Laurie for inviting us here today. Laurie was good friends with a friend of mine, John, you might know him as Johnny Aloha. And, you know, he got us talking every few months back, and we said, yeah, we'd love to come along and give a discussion about our product and technology and our services that we do here in Bangalore at the moment. So let's move right along. This morning's talk might sound a little bit technical in parts, and you know, we've tried to make this as simple as possible, but it's sometimes we use technical terms, but please feel free to put your hand up later on in the meeting and happy to answer any questions. Basically, I've been involved in biotech in this new field of biopolymers since the turn of this century. Sounds like a long time, doesn't it? But it's 17 years. We are Focus Safety. We're a product and development conduit for the sciences involved in biopolymer research. And basically what that means is that we put the business side of it together. You know, the scientists come up with these new ideas and new structures and new products or technologies, but there's a long way to go from that, what works in the lab, to actually what works in the field and what works for businesses and for products, you know, for people eventually buying stuff off the shelves, and we'll show you some of that stuff later on. So the main thing we're going to talk about today is our BioFresh range of products, which basically are when we say non-toxic, we're not toxic to the cells of plants, animals and humans. It's very toxic to the cells of microorganisms such as viruses, bacteria, fungi, and most algae, not all algae. The basic criteria is that this stuff is very effective at controlling and killing single-celled life forms. That's what they call in biology prokaryotes, whereas it's fairly much harmless. In fact, it is harmless to eukaryotes, which are multi-celled life forms. That's plants, animals, and humans. When I mentioned algae there before, some of you might know that there's over 170,000 different species of algae, and some of them are multi-celled, some of them are single-celled. So we have scientific and production partners in Russia and the Ukraine. And we've also got collaborative partners currently in USA and Australia. And at the moment we're in very, very early talks and discussions with CSIRO in Australia. Some of you Aussies would have heard of them. Our role is, as I said, getting the science from the laboratory or concept stage into practical uses, and eventually the products that improve everyone's lives and become cost efficient, cost effective ways to do, as I say, control bacteria. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, this emerging technology of biopolymers. I know a lot of you might sort of say, hey, what's a biopolymer? We'll talk about that next. Some of its current uses, how this benefits you and planet Earth, and some of its future uses and where it's evolving. So as I say, as you know, my name's David Smith, and I'm one of the partners at Focus Safety. We're just a small company. We've been here. The company was actually formed technically in 2007, but as I say, we've been involved in this technology since about 2001. I came to Thailand in 1995 as I had a business in Sydney, and we were friends of the Pancho family out of Bangkok, who owned and still own a major manufacturer for Isuzu. They make the double cab pickup for Isuzu and the Tyrone Union range of cars. And at that time, they also had the distributorship. Yep. Closer? I'm like that far. It's okay. I'll do the best. Do the best I can. Maybe put the sound up a little bit. Okay. So obviously everyone can't hear me very well. Is that right?
No. It's okay.
But you're okay up the back there?
It's okay.
You're okay?
It's okay.
Yep. Okay. All right. As I say, feel free to put your hand up if there's anything you don't understand or if there's something going on, because whilst we've got a fairly structured talk here, this is really just mostly about, in the last 17 years I've been involved in this, and we're just trying to impart some of this stuff to you and to what's been going on. So as I say, I came over here with what was then Toyota Car Company, which was distributors throughout Thailand for Rover, Land Rover and MG motor cars. And I was a family friend of the owners. And we then went through the crash of 1997, and by 1998 I'd found my way down here to Jontian, working with General Motors with a company called PMCI, and we'd then contracted what they call the Tier 1 integrated supply contract at General Motors, and that was a pretty big deal for what was a small, medium-sized company in those days. As that project evolved, they then gave me the opportunity to be in charge of their new environmental division. And whilst I'm not formally trained in environmental sciences, I was a personal friend of a Russian scientist going back to the days in Bangkok, who was one of the top scientists in Russia in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, for environmental sciences over there. Indeed, Dr. Nikolai was one of the three scientists in charge of the cleanup at Chernobyl. But what happened was that we started this environmental division to try and leverage basically some of the connections and opportunities that Dr. Nikolai had back in Russia, and that's sort of how we got involved in what we're doing today. So, as you probably know, I don't know if any of you guys have ever dealt with scientists, but as a business, what happens is that the scientists are pretty keen on exploring all ideas and concepts and doing theses and studies and white papers and all that sort of stuff. Whereas in business, you really need to try and get to the sharp end of the stick as quickly as possible and get to product and stuff that you can, and services that you can actually sell and create revenue with. In the parlance at the time, it was called Big R, Little D. You might have heard of research and development. The scientists are more interested in research, and the business wants to, actually get that and develop that into products. So that was part of my role, and became good friends with Dr. Nikolai and some of the other guys in Russia. I actually got to know and be involved with a Nobel Prize laureate through Dr. Nikolai, and still stay in touch with him today. So what we basically did was we were developing completely different technologies, and we went over to Russia in 2002 and met some of these guys and this company that was set up called Adequate Technologies that had all of these technologies, and the stuff that we're talking about today was one of them. And we brought this back to Thailand and tested it, and we were pretty amazed. This was the very early days of implementing biopolymers. Now I'm probably guessing that all of you are going, what's a biopolymer? Okay. A lot of you probably know that polymers are generally understood today as being plastics, such as plastic bottles, plastic bags, plastic components in almost everything we use today. Plastics are a pretty big part of most products, and we in the plastics field, they're generally made from hydrocarbons. Now, hydrocarbon is basically the stuff from oil. They drill up oil and gas, actually. A lot of plastics are actually more made from the gases that they dig up, and it's been the way that it's always been up until recently. So hydrocarbons are made from oil and gas, which take hundreds of thousands of years to create in planet Earth, and whilst we're still got plenty of them available, there is a finite life to them. So this technology of creating biopolymers is basically that we can do that using starches and enzymes, which are made from plants. And so we can take cornstarch now and create plastics, like this plastic bottle or that plastic bag, or almost every plastic you'll find in common use today can now be made from biopolymers. The reason that's important is that because of cost, there's still, it's still fairly early days, but in America and Europe now, this company here called NatureWorks is one of the pioneers of actually implementing bioplastics in America, is now in Europe, and amazingly enough, they're also here in Thailand. But still today, we've got plastic bags and plastic items here in Thailand, and very, very, very few biopolymer or bioplastic products on the market. And all that comes down to is price. So the price of producing bioplastics is now fairly close to the cost of doing it from oil or hydrocarbons. And the thing that has happened, as you know, in the last 5 or 6 or so years, has been that the price of oil has dropped. So it's still not quite, cost competitive to do it on a mass scale, but it's close. So, as I mentioned, sorry, don't know what point on there. We're missing a slide there. Anyway, never mind. So, this science has been going on for about the last 20 years. It actually originated earlier than that. The first biopolymer technologies were emerging in the early to mid 1990s, and they're now being patented and developed and now being used. Although NatureWorks is one of the pioneers, a lot of the other big companies like DuPont, Monsanto, and almost all of the major international chemical companies are now on the bandwagon going after bioplastics, because they're eventually going to replace plastics made from hydrocarbons. Sorry? So,
Can't hear you.
You can't hear us?
Yeah, a little louder.
I'm sort of like an inch away from the microphone. Maybe we can turn it up a bit, yeah? Alright, I'll try and eat the microphone, ice cream. Okay, so why is all this important? Not only from a business cost point of view, one of the advantages of bioplastics is that they biodegrade in the environment in weeks and maximum of months, rather than in the case to most hydrocarbon plastics, it's like sometimes hundreds of years, tens to hundreds of years to fully biodegrade. So as you can see here, the problem, one of the big problems in climate change is the fact that we're polluting this planet pretty severely. With over 315 million tonnes of plastics in our oceans, that's actually more than the estimated tonnage of fish in the oceans. So that's not good. 2.24 million tonnes of toxic chemicals into our atmosphere, and 140 million tonnes of toxic chemicals released into our environment, the lands, rivers, and that's every single year. The future of biopolymers and bioplastics is fairly obvious, but unfortunately, business these days, and certainly big business, is all driven about profit and price. So hopefully, eventually, and we're pretty sure it'll happen, that crossover will start to happen. One of the things that happened about 6 or 7 years ago was that our oil company here, PTT, invested in NatureWorks to the tune of $500 million US. I think they got 20% share or something like that for that investment. and yet still today, amazingly, there's not a big bioplastics industry in Thailand. Some of the other things that can be done with bioplastics, as can be done with all plastics, is 3D printing and also fabrics. They can actually create really, really good fabrics out of bioplastics. Out of biopolymers. These are the starch-based bioplastics from India and such like. Let me try and get this right. Okay, so our pet topic is chlorine. And chlorine on the periodical table is one of the most deadly gases. It was used, as probably most of you will know, in the First World War as a chemical weapon. Not very effectively, because as soon as the wind changes, you could be actually gassing your own people, and that's really basically why they stopped that sort of thing. But these days, as you would know from the news, people like ISIS and that are starting to use it again because it's cheap. It's cheap and it's very, very easy to make a pretty nasty weapon out of it. One of the most toxic chemicals on the periodical table is fluorine, which some of you might know as fluoride. In Western countries, they still use that in drinking water, in the treatment of drinking water, as well as chlorine to sanitise. But fluorine being fluoride, apparently to try and make people's teeth better. But the downsides of using that are now far outweighed by the potential of good teeth. I won't sort of go too much more into that because we're here basically to talk about our treatment of water and why this is a better way to do it. The World Health Organization recently has been increasing its warnings against what they created a whole category for it called CBPs, and that's basically an acronym for chlorine byproducts. And whether we're treating swimming pools or whether we're treating town water and city water, the chlorine byproducts happen when the actual chlorine ion comes into contact with things like organic materials. These things are called trihalomethanes, THMs, and chloramines. Both of these are highly carcinogenic, highly dangerous elements. That's one of the reasons a lot of people in the West are now drinking bottled water, because the water out of the tap isn't quite as safe as they'd lead you to believe. So one of the problems with chlorine when we're treating water is that it's a very unstable chemical, and if we're talking about swimming pools, you'll probably know that they sell you a bag of chlorine or a bucket of chlorine powder. That's what they call in the industry TCCA. That means trichlorinated cyanuric acid, and that's got a chemical formula about that long. There's so many different components to it, and what that does is that it reacts with water and tries to slowly release sodium hypochlorite, which then breaks down into chlorine ion, and as I just mentioned, chloramines and all these other nasty things. So the problem with chlorine, almost all, whether it's sodium hypochlorite or the TCCA, the problem with it is that it's very reactive. it's not very stable under hot conditions, and the hotter it gets, the quicker it dissipates. It leaves the water with very, very poor water chemistry, meaning that the pH goes right down in most cases, and the total alkalinity of the water is completely destroyed. So these are some of the elements in water treatment that are important when you're treating a swimming pool, or whether it's drinking water or town water, is that the chlorine only works at its maximum efficacy between a pH of 7 and 7.4. By actually putting TCCA in the water, you're actually dropping the pH down to 3, 4, and stuff like that. The other thing that this product doesn't like is high UV. So near the equator here in Asia, the stronger the UV, the less effective this stuff is. As I say, there's another factor to it called total alkalinity, but that sort of gets a bit too technical. So what happens here in Thailand, or in Asia really? People just use chlorine, and I know some of you will say, "Oh yeah, I've got saltwater chlorinators. Yeah, that's a lot better, and it's far superior to using the old powdered approach." But it's still actually just cracking. It's a saltwater chlorinator is just cracking sodium chloride into sodium and chlorine ion. That's basically still a chlorine pool, but it is a much preferable option than using the powder. The powder's cheap because those saltwater chlorinators cost between $1,000 to $5,000 a piece, and your electricity bills go through the roof, and you've still got all of the water chemistry and everything else to look after. So one of the big problems of pool service companies here in Southeast Asia is that they just chuck this magic white powder in water. And I must say it does a really, really good job of making the water look clear and beautiful and crystal and all that sort of thing. But when you actually go in and test the water chemistry, it's usually really bad. And a lot of women we know in and around these areas won't swim in chlorinated pools here because their hair gets really dry and their eyes go red and their skin gets really itchy. That is simply a knock-on effect from the high levels of hypochlorous acid and the chlorinated byproducts in the water. And unfortunately, in our experience, a lot of these pools using the old TCCA are absolutely in danger levels. We're talking 3, 4, and sometimes 800% over the recommended safety level of what we call a total chlorine count. We do all of our testing electronically, and what we found with even the big pool companies here is that they don't even test for anything, not pH, not total alkalinity, not anything. A classic example of that was when we first sort of got started in the actual pool business here. We went to go and buy sodium bicarbonate, which is basically just baking soda. And went to all the pool companies and they said, "Have you got any sodium bicarbonate?" They said,